This is the new BMW X4 and it's a little bit like sushi because you pay more but you actually get less. Now let me explain. You see, the X4 is basically an X3. The X3 starts from £39,000. This starts from £43,000. And because of that coupe-like profile, you've got less room inside, but it is cooler, a bit like choosing sushi over than, say, traditional fish and chips. Now, if you want to see how much money you can save on one of these cars, click on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen to go to CarWow, because at CarWow you can save an average of £3,600 on a new car. Let's start this review by talking about this car's key feature, and it is this swoopy back end. Now, there is a trade-off for it. It means that the overall boot capacity is 5% less than the X3s, but it's not that big a deal, is it, you think? But it's not the size that matters, it's what you do with it that counts. And here's the problem. You see, while this is nice and square generally, that lower tapered line for the boot means that you can't stack things so high further back. So for instance, if I was to try and shut the boot now, it's not going to have any of it. Look, see, didn't like that at all. Right, pop that back up. Also, there's a bit of a boot lip there to lift stuff over, which can be a problem if you've got heavy items such as this. At least there's a metal plate there so you don't scuff your paintwork. And that's where my complaints end, because this is actually a very useful boot. There's lots of nice features. There's little bag hooks there to stop your shopping from rolling around the boot when you're cornering. Sturdy tie-down tethers there, look at that. And you can remove them if you want to. Then there's some strapping for your bottles. And look at some storage, oh shit. Some removable storage nets, which you can use to hold your manky, out-of-date sushi. Now look, the cover for the underfloor storage is on a gas strut. Ideally if you have problems keeping it up. Sorry, listen, I promise no more innuendos in this video, otherwise it's going to turn into carry-on car reviews. So if you look under there, there's some decent space. There's not a spare wheel. There's not even any tyre repair kit because this car runs on run flat tyres. Now more on that later because it does actually matter. The thing I do like about this though, look, unlike some other cars, you can fold down the back seats from here. The levers in the boot, so you don't have to go running around. And the load area, it is pretty flat, as you can see there, which does make it easier to push these heavy items to the front. And all cars as standard get an electrical tailgate. Now, this sloping roofline does mean that this car doesn't have quite such a wide opening for the back seats as the X3. I'll just get this out of here actually. So that can make it a little bit trickier when you're trying to manoeuvre on those really big rearward facing child seats. So I'll just get in. What doesn't make it so hard to fit a child seat is this, look, little ISOFIX flaps, makes it dead easy to actually locate the seat into place. In terms of knee room, look, you can see I've got plenty. This seat's in my usual driving position. Foot room, there's plenty of that as well. You can actually stretch out by putting your feet into the seat in front. Headroom, well, I'm okay, look, but it is pretty tight. People over 6 foot may find it a touch cramped back here. It's made worse if you have 3 in the back at once. So the issue is that you then push the outer 2 people to the outside, and this roofline slopes quite a lot at the side, so taller people will end up putting their head against there, whereas in the middle, it's just about livable. Yes, there's a hump in the floor, but like I've already said, the footwells are big, so there's still enough room for 3 people's feet. And if those 3 people are kids, they're going to be fine anyway in the back altogether. What they may not like so much, though, is the fact that this window ledge is quite high, so for smaller people, they'll struggle to see out. At least the back windows, come on, do go all the way down, so that's a good thing. I also like this, look, you've got through loading, so you can carry longer items than 2 people either side. If you need to increase the boot space a bit, obviously you can do by putting the seat backs in a more upright position, but I shouldn't bother really if I were you. In terms of storage, well, if I can just get this down, come on, it's a bit stiff. That was another innuendo, I didn't mean that one, that was accidental. You've got some cup holders here, you can use it as an armrest. You've got some netting here on the seat backs, but it's not very big, there's not much room for stuff. Thankfully, the door bins are absolutely huge back here. You've got digital climate control as well, I like that, it's a useful feature. Up here, we've got some coat hooks, they neatly tuck away, and look, you've got some reading lights there, and you can turn them off individually, and there's some over this side as well, so that that person can sleep and you can read if you want to. Now, if you want to know more about this car's practicality, click on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and I'll show you more detail on how much stuff you can fit in this car's boot, what it's like with 3 adults in the back, and how easy it is to fit a child seat. And if you want to charge your mobile devices, you've got a 12-volt socket here, but look, BMW does this thing where they double the 12-volt socket as 2 USB chargers. They're really cool. In fact, every BMW that has these, I've nicked that and put them in my car. So BMW, if you're wondering where they've gone, you now know. So let's move on to the front, because there is no real reduction in practicality for this coupe-like body here in the front. This just feels like an X3. And that is why they've given you an X4 plaque down there to remind you where your extra money went. Now, some of it actually goes towards extra kit, because the range kicks off with sport trim, and that gets 18-inch alloy wheels, leather seats, auto emergency braking and satellite navigation. It's just that the screen only has 6 inches. That's why most people want to step up to this M Sport trim, because then you get these lovely sports seats, you get 19-inch alloy wheels and this glorious 10-inch widescreen infotainment system. It has some extra features over the basic version. So you've got traffic updates, which is as good as Waze really, at routing you around the traffic jams. Really like those. There's internet connectivity. I've also got a concierge service, so I can speak to a man over the phone and he'll actually book hotels for me. It's really, really good. In fact, I love this system. It's intuitive, simple to use. You can just whiz through all the menus very easily, and you can operate it using this swivel wheel here and the shortcut buttons. That's the best to use when you're driving, but when you're stationary, you can use it as a touchscreen. So it's just like your smartphone or your tablet. If you don't want to do that, you can use gesture controls. Look. So you just wave your finger about. You can also input things into the sat-nav using this touchpad here, but it's a bit hard to in right-hand drive cars unless you're left-handed. So if you actually want to put something into the sat-nav, you're better off pressing this button here. Now that'll activate the voice commands, and apparently it can understand normal speech, so let's just try it. Take me to Spearmint Rhino.
Spearmint Rhino, London, Tottenham Court Road. Say yes, or select another entry from the list.
No, let's not do that right now. You've got digital doors. Now they're an optional extra, but they're well worth it because they're only a couple of £100 and they look nice. Okay, so they don't quite have the functionality that you get on the digital doors that you get in Audis and Mercedes, but I still like them. Now, for more information on this car's infotainment system, click on the pop-out bar in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and you'll also be able to have another good look around this car's cabin. So in terms of the design, it's all right. I quite like it. So this M Sport, it gets things like this satin trim and metallic trim here. This car's got this leatherette on the dash with some stitching, which does make it feel posher. So do these metallic buttons here near the climate control. And I like these touch sensitive programmable buttons here as well. What I'm not so keen on though is this. Look, you've got a CD player. I mean, who listens to CDs these days? And if you look, it's kind of off center, which is kind of doing my head in a little bit. I do like this though. They're a bit like Art Deco, sort of like being sat in the 1920s. And that pattern is mimicked here on the air vents. It's just a shame that the air vents feel cheap. The rest of the car though is very solid. Yeah, everything you touch feels built to last. Now, quality is generally very good, but as you go lower down here, there's some scratchy plastics on the door pockets, and you will touch that if you're going to demonstrate to your viewers just how big those door bins are, because look, they can hold a big bottle of water. There's some storage here by the steering wheel for an emergency bar of chocolate. The space in here is all right. You've got USB input, and I like this. Look, there's a little runner for your cable so it doesn't get snagged when you put that down. Under here, you've got some cup holders, and they will hold larger bottles like that. And there's a pad there for charging your mobile phone wirelessly. Also, you can use it for charging the key. Got to show you this key. So it's £190, this optional key, and it's got a little screen on it. And you can control various things like the lights, the climate control. You can do it remotely, and that's kind of good. But if you look at that screen, it's dead laggy, and the key, it's kind of big. And if you've got that in your pocket, yeah, you're going to have a bulge there. Done it again. Anyway, yeah, don't bother with that key. That's what I'm coming to. In terms of the glove box, it's an okay size. Look, just about enough room for a big bag of popcorn and the manual. Finally, we're going to talk about the seating position. So, as with other BMWs, it's really good. I like how you've got this extendable seat base for more under thigh support. And yes, this is an SUV, but you can sit quite low if you want to, or jack it up very high if you're short and need a better view out. Also, there's plenty of adjustment in the steering wheel, as you can see, but compared to other cars, it seems to telescope just that bit more. You seem to get an extra inch. Yeah, I think this video is going to need an adult rating.
Now then, it's time for the CarWow 5 annoying things about this car.
If, like me, you have a bad back, you'll probably want the adjustable lumbar support to operate down here. Trouble is, it's a £265 option on all models. Ooh. For some reason, the one-touch function for the sunroof will only open it 90% of the way. If you want to open it the full way, you have to press it again. Why? BMW's 2-litre diesel really is quite rattly. I mean, look at this exhaust pipe shaking. I'll illustrate it with this coin. Yeah, I wonder when the penny will finally drop for BMW. BMW's iDrive may be brilliant, but while you can get it with Apple CarPlay, there's no Android Auto available at all. So yeah, knew I should have bought a blooming iPhone. Is it just me, or does this grille make the car sort of look like a pig from Angry Birds? Just saying.
Don't worry, there's still plenty to like about this car. Here's the CarWow 5 cool features.
Now you might be wondering where the heck you can keep these rather cumbersome load covers. Well, don't you worry, because look at this. Underneath here, there's some special cutaways for them, so they should fit just perfectly and out of the way. Ta-da! This car has an active grille, so when the engine doesn't need cooling, it remains shut for improved aerodynamics. Speaking of which, you've got air breathers here, which actually send air in through there and over the wheels for less drag. And as you can see, they do actually exist and go somewhere, as proved by the CarWow stick of truth. The optional heads-up display is absolutely brilliant. It shows loads of information in a clear widescreen format, and it can show stuff like your satellite navigation, direction, speed, distance of the car in front, and you can actually customise it quite a fair bit through the central display here. Look, there's loads of things you can do with it. It's brilliant. Now you might be wondering why the heck I'm not actually showing you the system. I'm showing you the options on the screen. Well, it's because the camera just doesn't pick it up that well. All right? This new X4 is 50 kilos lighter than the old X4. It's also got a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and the 40i and 40d models come with an active rear differential for added sportiness, yeah. The Parking Assistant Plus is absolutely brilliant. So as well as the normal 360-degree view, you have a special 3D view. So if I just activate it, I can then look at the car as if it's in a computer game and, come on, use the gesture control to look around me. Isn't that insane? Now if I put it back onto auto, let's say I'm just reversing, it will automatically flip up when I get close to an object. So you see a bird's eye view from the top to make sure I don't run him over. Being an SUV, of course, you sit higher than in other cars, so it gives you a good view out. It makes you feel a bit more smug. What I'm not so smug about, though, are the blind spots in this car, because there are quite a lot of them. I mean, look at this. There's a huge blind spot there. The rear window is tiny. There's another massive one at the rear as well, so when you're looking over your shoulder to pull out of junctions, it gets in the way. In fact, this car has so many blind spots, it should really come with a free dog and a white stick. Can't complain about the automatic gearbox though, I really love it. 8 speeds and it's very smooth. You put your foot down and it responds instantly, and if you want to, you can change gears yourself using the paddles to make it feel a bit more sporty. Actually, BMW has specifically set this car up to feel sporty. So they're giving it a slightly firmer suspension than the X3, and you do notice that round town it just seems to pick up the bumps a bit more and feel a bit firmer than you might imagine. However, you can upgrade to some adaptive suspension, and that has a comfort mode, and it's only 500 quid. It's well worth it. So you put it into comfort, it slackens off the suspension, and then it is better. Though this car still feels just that little bit firmer to drive than, say, something like the Mercedes GLC Coupe, and it's definitely firmer still than the X3. Now, when you encounter a twisty road, you will experience the benefit of this car's sporty setup. So if you put it into sports mode, it'll add weight to the steering, sharpen the throttle response, and if you've got that adaptive suspension, it'll stiffen that up too. And then when you chuck this thing into a corner, it really doesn't lean at all. It's quite surprising for a tall SUV just how well it handles. And this X4 is more fun to drive than the X3. If I have a complaint though, it's the steering. It's not quite as sharp as that in an Alfa Stelvio. You see, you can't be subtle with it. It won't pick up on hints. So if you're like going, oh, I really like it over there, I'd like to be over there, you know, turn the wheel a bit, it just doesn't respond. So you need to be bloody obvious with what you want. So you want to say, turn right now. And then, yes, it does respond, and it responds well. You just got to know how to treat it. This particular car I'm driving is the 20D, so it's a 2-litre diesel engine, and it's generally pretty good. It's got enough performance, 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, and economy, I'm doing 42 miles per gallon, which is good enough. There's two other diesel engines. They're 6 cylinders. They're more expensive, more powerful, but I don't think they're worth the extra cash, really. You can get a 6-cylinder turbo petrol, which is really fast, but that's expensive and expensive to run. So if you mainly want to do town miles, there will be a 2-litre turbo petrol, which will be more economical and better value for money. In terms of long distance driving, this car is generally quite comfortable. One thing I do notice though is that you do get quite a lot of noise from the tyres, say compared to an Audi Q5, and part of the reason is because it's running on those run flat tyres I mentioned earlier, so be wary of that. This particular car has got the autonomous driving, so it'll steer to keep me in lane. It's got automatic cruise control to keep me a safe distance from the car in front, and it just takes a strain out of doing long distances. It's an option worth considering. This X4 comes with 4-wheel drive as standard, which gives you good grip on tarmac, and it means it can go off-road a bit if you want it to. In fact, this car can drive through water that's 50 centimetres deep without